Power to the people. Good morning, Royal. And thank you, Pastor, for this opportunity to share some Charleston history during this special Black History Month segment. You know, stories from the past teach us valuable lessons. So today, I will be sharing stories that somebody should have told me. Somebody should have told me how enslaved Baptists and Methodists were often allowed to attend service under the leadership of a black pastor, and where early on, black Methodists separated from white oversight and created Emmanuel AME, although it was against the law for blacks to have religious gatherings independent of white supervision. These separate congregations established secret missionary and charity societies using the money collected to take care of the needy and purchase freedom for the enslaved. Out of them came activists, church and political leadership, educators, although education for black people was also against the law. Knowing this would have reminded us that God gives power in seemingly powerless situations. Someone should have told me that by the 1830s, blacks outnumbered whites in Charleston 3-1, and both free and enslaved black people were everywhere downtown. Someone should have told me that the most exclusive hotel in the Southeast was owned by free blacks on Broad Street. When I saw the beauty of Charleston, somebody should have reminded me that African hands built the homes, made the brick, created the ironwork, tailored clothes, made shoes and other leather goods, managed business affairs, nursed children, cleaned houses, piloted boats, made shipping containers, provided the seafood, worked on the ships, money from the crops that their labor produced and from their sale paid for the homes and the buildings of Charleston, the enslaved's own clothing and housing, the purchase of more property and ships, the money that kept the merchants on East Bay in business and paid for the travel, the excessive leisure, and the foreign schooling for the planters' children. Maybe if I had understood that it was indeed my city, bought through my ancestors' bodies and hands, maybe I would not have so willingly abandoned it for other communities. Somebody should have told me how quickly after Charleston fell in the Civil War that blacks held their first election of black town officials, and black South Carolinians, as only 58% of the population, elected 6 African Americans to Congress, a majority black state legislature, and many other black elected officials during Reconstruction. Someone should have told me how the election of formerly enslaved and free black men to the state legislatures produced profoundly important benefits, including the South's first free public schools. If I had respected my God-given power, maybe I would have taken my voting rights more seriously and defend public education today. Somebody should have told me how political power was lost, what Governor Ben Tillman had said about how they couldn't remove the majority by honest methods, so we stuffed the ballot boxes, we shot them, we are not ashamed of it. Voting protection was not to be regained until the passing of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. If I had known what losing protection actually looked like when the Voting Rights Act was gutted in 2013, I would have been fighting day and night for its restoration. Someone should have told me about the Lost Cause movement started in the late 1800s, the campaign that actually rewrote American history books, turning a rebellion against the U.S. over slavery into a righteous cause to defend states' rights. Maybe I would better understand their grandchildren's current CRT motivation. Somebody should have told me that for most of Charleston's history until the 1980s, Charleston had a majority black population, and about the decades of thriving black communities and businesses on the Charleston Peninsula, where the needs of the community were provided by people in the community, and dollars turned over and over in the purchase of goods and services before leaving the community. Someone should have told me that when segregation was made illegal, how black people had rushed to patronize previously segregated businesses, causing black-owned businesses to fall like a house of cards in the 60s, in the 70s, and the 80s, as their all-black customer base moved their money and their homes outside of former downtown communities, abandoning strong church and spiritual connections that had kept the community mentally and morally grounded. What had been stability for one generation became embarrassment for the next. It gave developers a way, after over almost 300 years, to gain control of the Charleston Peninsula. Maybe we should have learned that things like faith and community will take you places money never can. The land of our inheritance, the Charleston Peninsula, James Island, Johns Island, Watermalaw, Maryville on the Ashley, land along Highway 61, along Highway 17 in Mount Pleasant, Liberty Hill, the first permanent settlement in North Charleston, Rosemont, Union Heights, black communities that produced highly successful children, land mostly lost in one generation. Maybe if we had understood the gift they had left, maybe we wouldn't have so willingly given up the land or their spiritual values. In every generation, the church had been the center and faith in God the stabilizer, making them know that we were more than any label, and giving them skills to be successful and emotionally healthy in an unequal world. The black church created community and produced leaders of integrity who spoke truth to power. In this generation, as more people abandon the church, who is training the next generation of leaders and critical thinkers and teaching communities and families to live in harmony? Who will save Liberty Hill from the developers? Who is sharing wisdom accumulated over centuries? Or will the young only listen to the young? Deuteronomy 6 says, God told the Israelites to constantly tell your children how God brought you out. But he left a warning: be careful. You do not forget the Lord who brought you out of slavery. Did we throw away our children's greatest inheritance, a strong faith in God? History is of little value unless it inspires us to do better or guards against the mistakes of the past. Thank you.